Hello everyone, welcome to my channel if you're new here. Welcome back if you're a returning guest. My name is Brittany and I share my stupid opinion about the books that I've read using the cawpile review system, which was created by G over at Book Roast. So today we're talking about The Lying Game by Ruth Ware. This book starts off with a woman who is walking along this beautiful tidal estuary known as the Reach off the cliffs of the English Channel in this village called Salton. As this woman is walking her dog, he runs out into the water and grabs what she thinks is a stick, but turns out to not actually be a stick. This leads one of our main characters, Kate, to text her three closest schoolmates from Salton House, which is the boarding school that the women attended in their formative years, saying simply, "I need you," which results in the other three women, Fatima, Isa, and Thea, all returning to Salton to be with Kate in her time of need. So the four women attended Salton House when they were about 15 years old before they were unceremoniously kicked out after what appears to just be one term for Isa and Fatima. The four girls are an inseparable clique and are notorious for playing this game called The Lying Game. They tell lies to everyone at every turn of their time at Salton House. Regardless of what the lies were, whether they were small or large in nature, the women became notorious for the lies that they told, which caused their peers to kind of steer clear of them, resulting in an even more tighter knit clique. So the rules of the game are very simple. You are not allowed to lie to each other ever, and you have to know when to bail on your lies. So we're going to keep it simple. There are going to be no details in our lies, and the game does end up having consequences, one of which was their expulsion surrounding the mysterious disappearance of their art teacher, who also just so happens to be Kate's father. Let's get into it. Our characters. Like I said, there are four main characters that are women, and I would say that one of the male characters in this is kind of a key player. So we have Isa, who is the character through which the story is told. So everything is told through Isa's point of view. She is a new mother to her child Freya and partner to Owen. She's overcome the expulsion by moving on to work in the civil service, and she, no matter how long she's been with her partner Owen, she harbors this longing for male character Luke, even though she's been with Owen for 10 years and has a baby with him and all of that fun stuff. Fatima is the voice of reason out of the group of women, in my opinion. She is mother of two children, has found her perfect person. She rediscovered her Muslim faith after having her children and overcomes the experiences at Salton House by becoming a surgeon. Thea is the wayward child of the group. She has no children, she has no partner, she struggles with an eating disorder and alcoholism. She's been expelled from at least 3 other schools prior to Salton House and does not appear to be coping well in life. She works at a casino, and just everything about her character screams, "I'm not taking care of myself." Kate is the leader of the pack of women. She was the creator of The Lying Game, and despite being expelled, she remains in Salton after everything goes down with her father's death and everything. To me, maybe I just missed a detail, but it was never really clear to me if she attended another school after the girl's expulsion. She also does not appear to be coping well with life, in that she's still living at her family home, and it doesn't appear like she even has a job. And then we have Luke, who is Kate's mysterious French stepbrother. He's very much angry at the world. Isa is still heavily attracted to him, even though this story takes place 17 years after everything went down. So those would be the main players of the book. There are a lot of side characters to kind of help drive this story along, but these 5 are who I would describe as central to the plot. I really liked the dynamic of the core group of women. They were so devoted to the lies that they told to protect not only themselves, but also each other. I didn't really like the weird dynamic between Luke and Isa and Luke and Kate. Fatima was my favorite amongst the group of women for truly being a sound voice of reason. It seemed to me like she always kind of kept a level head no matter what was coming up for the women. Isa the narrator. She really annoyed me a lot, especially when it came down to the way that she acted toward Owen. Though I didn't love his character and found him to be incredibly whiny, I didn't feel like she treated him in a very nice way, especially because she's over here talking about how much she loves him, but then she does things that don't indicate love to me. Overall, the characters, I gave an 8 out of 10, and we're moving on to the atmosphere, which was not very great for me. Nothing in this setting stood out to me. I couldn't picture the dilapidated mill that the women were staying in. I couldn't picture the Reach at high tide. I couldn't picture the school, the towers that the girls lived in. Really had a difficult time in terms of setting because normally I'm able to visualize myself as like a bystander. It plays kind of like a movie in my head, and as everything in this story unfolded, I found myself unable to picture it, which was unfortunate because this is another book that I double dorked, and I figured that hearing the audio would help me in terms of atmosphere, but it really didn't. And so atmosphere is a 5 out of 10, but the writing was very, very good. I gave it a 9 out of 10. It's my first Ruth Ware book, and I was very, very impressed with her writing. Simply for the writing style alone, I would read another of Ruth Ware's books because I enjoyed it so much. The writing, that is. For the plot, now I'm assuming that a lot of the reviews that people were leaving are in terms of the plot, and I have to say I wasn't really impressed. For such a slow build, I really expected a greater payoff. And I really wasn't surprised when the full truth finally came out. I don't really need like a huge shock factor when it comes to mysteries and thrillers, but I didn't find the mystery in this to be very enjoyable or interesting. I guessed a lot of things that were happening before they happened, and I really wasn't impressed with the ending at all. Like I said, very slow build, and the pace didn't pick up until the very last 25 pages of the book, and I don't love that. It makes for very uneven pacing, in my opinion. I gave the plot a 3 out of 10. Moving on to intrigue, I would say I neither loved nor hated this book. There were bits that I was super invested in. There were bits that I could not care less about and was rolling my eyes over. With a lot of books that I double dork, the interest for me is maintained and held by the narrator, and this one did have a really good narrator, so there are no complaints in that department for me. Again, just something of note when I was reading along and listening to the audio, the narrator skipped over entire sentences in this book, and I don't know if she was reading from the UK published version of this book or if she was reading from the American published version of this book, but there were entire lines from the book missing from the audio, and I didn't like that. But intrigue was 5 out of 10. Same thing for logic for me, 5 out of 10 for this. Several things in the book just simply didn't make sense to me at all, and I really can't describe a lot of what didn't make sense to me because I'm trying to keep my reviews spoiler free, so I can't really tell you why things were not logical because it's a spoiler. Let's just say there are certain decisions that were made in this book that left me absolutely fuming, and that's all down to certain characters. So 5 out of 10 for logic, and then we get to enjoyment. Overall, I found this book to be very enjoyable. I think that this could be really chalked up to me liking the characters so much and enjoying the audiobook narration. I've heard a lot of people talk about this book and say that it's not Ruth Ware's best, and I really had to separate that knowledge from my time reading this. I really tried to keep an open mind while I was working through it so that I could enjoy it a little bit more. I wouldn't say in this instance that enjoyment and interest were linked to each other. It's not like I was so invested in this story that I couldn't sleep and I had to keep reading. But when I did pick up the book, I did find myself sitting and listening and reading along for prolonged periods of time, which to me is indicative of I'm having a good time. An 8 out of 10 overall for enjoyment, largely, like I said, chalked up to the characters and the audiobook narration. So with all of that being said, my grand totals for this book: 45 out of 70, which averages out to about 6.43. And on my own personal cawpile rating system, that is a 3.25 star rating. I wouldn't say that it was a bad time. I have no frame of reference for other Ruth Ware books, so I don't know if it's the worst. I don't know if it's the best. I will say that I plan on reading more Ruth Ware in the future. So with that being said, if you haven't subscribed to my channel already, please feel free to do so. If you liked the video, leave me a like. And as always, if you have any comments about this book, drop me one below and we can chat a little bit. Otherwise, I will see you all in the next one. Bye.